There you go, Paul.
I'd buy my
Yes,
eggs
good
from
evening,
Prince.
everybody. This is the April 9th, 2013 Zoning Board of Appeals business meeting. This is our business meeting, actually. The Board of Appeals will conduct this meeting according to the rules laid out in Chapter 40A of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Robert's Rules of Order, and its own particular set of rules entitled Rules of Procedure, a copy of which is on file with the town clerk. Another copy is available from the clerk at this meeting. This meeting is being tape recorded for the purpose of taking minutes. Once the minutes are approved, the tape may be taped over. So why don't we're gonna go right to finance, Patty?
Yes. The only thing I have is the revolving account. The February meeting, we have the revolving hours, let's see, WB Mason, and the deposit for 36 Prospect Street. That will be next month's hearing. So we're actually taking more fees. We're doing good on taking in more fees instead of spending more. And then under new business, I have the minutes that were emailed on the 25th. So I just need a motion for that.
I propose a motion to approve the minutes of, what date?
March 5th,
March 5th.
2013.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, 20,
Wait,
no,
oh,
March 5th, that's right.
I'm
Yep,
sorry.
March 5th.
My bad.
You didn't put them in here, did you?
Yeah, there is.
No, I always,
Second.
You
email.
emailed them, yeah. That's why I can't remember.
Sorry, it says.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? No one? Okay. Accessory apartment, ooh, yes.
Mr. Schilling.
Discussion of accessory apartments.
Well-
This is excellent. That was very exciting, you guys, with the emails and everything.
Well, what I did was I went on some different town websites and looked up what other towns do and what they have for accessory apartments. This first page is a sales report I got from Rose in the assessor's office. And she can basically give us this every month. What we do with it is another discussion. But what I found, if you go, and these are just the emails where you guys were giving me the information about what I found, and if you go down a couple pages, I printed out the town of Chelmsford, and what they have in this, and I called them, what they did is they completely changed the bylaw, which has to go to town meeting, and they call it a limited accessory apartment. They have a separate application, special permit for just accessory apartments. And what they do is they put called a use restriction, which is another thing they added to the bylaw. If you look down on their application on the bottom, it says what they require, and it says in use restriction. And what it basically is a deed restriction, because it has to be notarized, and it's really, because when you guys were talking about what do we do to enforce this, if you look at page 2 of the deed restriction, I got it on top, I said use restriction on the top right hand corner, keep going.
Yep.
It says Town of Chelmsford limited accessory apartment
Yep.
use restrictions.
Yep.
If you go to the second page and you look under number 4, well, 3 and 4 is enforcement and right of access.
Yeah.
It's just strange, because it says, under right of access, the town acting by and through its building inspector shall have a right to enter the property, including the principal dwelling unit in the LLA, which is limited accessory apartment, at which time and from time to time, on at least 48 hours prior to notice, with or without court order, for the purposes of inspecting compliance with the terms of this restriction, and take any and all action as may be necessary or appropriate to remedy. So I thought that was
Yeah.
like extreme, kind of.
I don't know.
How-
But I mean, if they have
Is
it,
that something that John's gonna wanna do, though? I mean,
that's another thing.
We can
I mean, this
enforce
is
it
what-
the way it is.
Yeah,
It's just
I
a
mean,
matter
this is what they do.
restriction.
But I mean,
I think all you gotta do is send something out annually or every other year to everybody that's on our list that has a special permit for
I
an
just-
accessory apartment, and ask for an affidavit that says you recognize that this is the way you're allowed to use this dwelling, and you're conforming, and we explain what all the
This-
conditions,
yeah.
re-explain the conditions that have to be met, and they sign it, and maybe they indicate who's living there,
Well,
and what the relationship is to them.
I agree
That's
with
it.
that. The
I mean, it's
piece
simple,
that
simple enough.
feel strongly about is who should be doing that, and I don't think that's the responsibility of this board, and I
It's
don't think
not.
it's appropriate. I feel like that is absolutely appropriate, but it's not for this board to do.
No, it could be the zoning enforcement officer, or it could be, you know, I was suggesting that the assessor could maybe just mail it out to, we give them the list
Yeah.
and mail it out with the tax
Yeah,
bills or
but-
She
something.
has to list.
Well, I think that's the issue that,
They-
you know, everybody thinks it's kind of a good idea, but nobody wants to be responsible for the administrative part of it.
And it has
Okay,
to be
and who's
someone
going
who's
to
in
enforce it?
town hall.
And I don't think, I agree with you completely, I don't think it's a responsibility of a volunteer board
Right.
to be involved in starting doing enforcement. I certainly don't like this 48-hour,
No.
you know,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
mean, they do have
come
something
crashing in, but
further down. It says notice to new owners. The owner hereby agrees to inform prospective purchasers or other transferees, well, of this restriction, but
I think
who's to
it's,
say you can't send out a notice, but you can send a notice, but is, what is,
The zoning enforcement officer can enforce the provisions of the special permit regardless. You don't need a deed restriction to enforce those provisions.
right? I mean, but
So-
unless someone complains, like we said before, it's kind of.
It's just a
Well,
matter
even-
of, oh, go ahead.
Even if you send a notice out and make someone sign and swear affidavit, doesn't mean that they're going to be forthright.
That's
You know
true,
what I mean?
but-
And who's going to collect all this stuff? I feel like you said, it's already part of the special permit. They're supposed to be abiding by it. I mean, how many more notices are we going to give them to say, are you abiding by it? And they're going to say yes. I think really what it comes down to is that someone's going to complain, and then that's when John's going to go over and find out whether they're
Send a
not-
notice out and have them send it in every 2 years and send them to Patty, and she just has a log. Yep, I got this one. Oh, I didn't get these addresses. And then if there's 5 addresses that didn't send something in that says, yep, I understand these provisions and I'm abiding by them, then those are the 5 that maybe somebody makes a call or reminds them, or if need be, goes and makes a visit or something like that. Let them do the work.
well, that's
As
what.
part,
that's
as
what
part of the
you-
provisions of their special permit, you know, they have to send something into us. I don't know the
It's
legalities
very,
of that.
that's gonna be extremely difficult to enforce.
yeah. And I still think
Probably.
there's the people
And-
that are cheating are going to be cheaters. You know
No,
what
I mean, if the purple people have had their purple family in there and all of a sudden it's the green people, okay, it's gonna be noticeable to someone. But other than that, I mean, who really is gonna pay attention, except maybe the neighbor who is kinda watching everything?
Or if the purple people all of a sudden have 3 additional purple people. That, you know what I mean?
Like
There's
the
more
purple
cars
people.
or
Yeah, I'm telling you, I
Well,
mean.
the
there's
main-
going to be something that's
it's a
going to
tough
trigger.
one.
However we decide to solve this, the whole reason of this is to protect the integrity of the town and not allow these things to sort of evolve into something that everyone deems as sort of,
Status quo or something.
well, status quo or something that occurred before the zoning bylaws came into effect or something like that. I mean, we just need to, we're giving away a lot of these accessory apartments, that's the issue. And, I love the idea of making the owner of the property like respond once a year somehow. What else? What other things do we get in the mail? Do we get? I mean, we get excise tax and all that. Is it something that you can just slip into the excise tax envelope or something? Or I don't know. It can't be that hard to
I don't know
do.
why they can't drop something off if they're using it.
The feeling that I have is that really nobody wants to be responsible on the administrative end.
I know.
Putting something in an envelope is one thing. Now, you know, collecting all that information and logging it, comparing it to previous histories, and then filing another report saying, you need to go to this. I think everybody,
I'll tell you.
it's not a bad idea, but I don't.
The finance committee made it very clear that they are interested in this issue for one thing, and they are also interested in finding out from Patty what things have been left behind in the past 10 years. How can we start to pull things back together? What does your department need to do? And I think they're, maybe not this year, but they're willing to increase her hours or somehow make the time available to do it.
Because
If-
right now I have a list of accessory apartments.
You have the list of every
And
address?
I try to keep track of now who's come before us that hasn't gotten it recorded. And I'm kind of sending out emails every time I get a chance, but just to keep up with that and then to add
many are
it,
there?
yeah,
Any
it'd definitely take up more time. To,
Oh, I absolutely.
How many are there?
Oh, I don't.
I mean,
Top of my
roughly.
head.
Rough.
100?
I have 2 sheets, maybe at
Already
least,
At least 100?
maybe 80.
Yeah.
And there's
okay.
probably almost that many that aren't recorded, you know, people
And those
renting
are,
out basements.
well, those are the ones that, since I've been here, so, since I went from building to zoning in 2001, so there's more before that.
Why don't we do a community outreach and we'll just each take a community and just walk around the neighborhood and try to
Like
and just
Jehovah's
spy on
Witnesses,
people.
everybody.
I don't know.
I
feel
I
like
vote nay.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
I feel like it's the town's responsibility. The town, someone
it's not a
created this
volunteer's
bylaw.
No, it's not ours, but it could be some. Could be part of Patty's job description.
Or anyone else's, and I
But
mean,
you made
maybe
a good point. Are they willing to increase her hours? Because right now she's tapped on everything pretty much.
I think they.
that she's doing anyways.
My impression was,
Yeah, they brought it
Hey.
up, it was strange.
well, they're looking for efficiencies for one thing.
Well, it started because they asked about the permit tracking software, which
Right.
I'm not been trained on yet.
Right, and they're gonna go down into the basement and try to they're gonna invest some money. Apparently, all the documentation plans, everything in the basement are a complete disaster right now, and they're just waiting for another flood, and things are
Start
gonna be
over.
destroyed.
Yeah, Mike's gonna look into getting.
Yeah, so I
He was
think
looking
he'll
into
do that.
something.
So I think, how do we kind of spin this plate a little bit? I'm not really sure. I don't want to increase.
Well, let's redefine the concern for one thing. What's the concern? The concern is, you know, Sharon, you brought it up last month that, you know, we're granting a lot of these special permits for accessory apartments. So the concern then is what? That they are potentially not being used as intended? And we want to make sure that they're being used as intended, or there's getting to be too many of them and people are moving on and selling their houses and then renting them out as
Could be all of the
rentable
above.
apartments?
or yeah, or parents move to Florida and
Right.
somebody
Yeah.
else moves in, and
I feel like the town has an obligation, if we have this bylaw whereby people can request an accessory apartment, and we do willingly give it for good reason,
Yeah.
we're following the bylaws, then the town has an obligation to make sure that these are being abided by. That's
Right.
just, that's
So
just
we're
a
representing the town here,
responsibility.
so, you know, it can be, I think if you have a list of accessory apartments, I mean, I own a dog, I have to come down here and I gotta pay my $5 or whatever it is to read it in the dog tag every so often. I
Right.
have to do that.
Yeah.
The dog gets out and gets lost and doesn't have a
Ah.
tag on, I get zapped, so you know what, I
You,
do it,
uh,
I come down every
That's
year
right.
and I do my
But
thing.
the town clerk
do we
takes the
get notice?
responsibility.
Do we get
Yeah.
notice to do that? I forget. No, we don't. You just get a little.
I don't
You
know,
look
like-
on the tag and it's not the right date.
Expires or whatever, yeah,
I
I
get
mean,
notice.
But
gotta
here's
be-
the
You get a notice for
question:
your
is
dog?
it in?
I do.
But is it in our special permit that they're required every year to
Well, we
abide by
can
this?
write that
no,
in.
but
Going forward,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
now what about all the ones? I mean, the ones that have passed are the ones that we're concerned about, right? Because we can do whatever we want going forward.
Ah.
well, whatever we want, but we can, yeah,
But
we
again,
can,
we
we
can
can
can't
enforce, all we have to do is, if we get a list together, honestly, Patty, how long would it take to take, you know,
I gotta
things that come in the mail to
update
the
it.
zoning clerk and check off the box that said this, you know, you look at it and you check it off, you know,
Yep.
granted, it's a few minutes, but you did get some extra hours and maybe
Yeah.
there's some more down the road. I'm just saying that it's certainly not infeasible to suggest that and it doesn't have to be every year, you know, it's gotta be every so often. We don't get, you know, how
Couldn't-
often does the town survey come out? You know,
Couldn't
the-
we do something that would be
Survey, but
Actually, that's not a bad idea.
The census?
If it were
Census.
tied,
the
Thank you.
census?
if it were tied into the
Not
census.
everybody does the census either, because we get a
Oh.
street listing
I
based
thought
on
you
the
get in
census.
trouble if you didn't do it.
And that's only if you don't do your certificate thing.
I mean, right now, the only trigger on any of these things is when the banks get involved and if somebody wants to refinance or sell the property and the bank happens to catch it.
And they
realize
don't
through
always
the-
catch
through-
it.
Well, that's
Not-
what, yeah,
Well, they are
sometimes
getting
do.
more diligent now, but for years they
But
didn't bother with
I
any
do
of it.
agree
so.
with you. Someone needs to own the responsibility of collecting and,
And
yeah.
I don't know that we can determine who that person's gonna be.
No, but it ought to be important to the town. I mean, it should be a much higher
If-
Are you
priority.
saying
So-
sending out a notice? Are you saying, is that we had gone with
So
it?
who should we bring the concern up to? I guess that's my question.
We start with Mike, but I mean, we could,
I wonder if you don't wanna maybe pose it to town council through Mike to see what we can do.
Yeah, how
We
would you?
might
yeah.
not have the right to
we can
send out
we can
that
have
without
them take a
changing
look at what other
something in
towns
the,
are doing.
bylaws.
in 165, 69, without putting something in there that says,
That's what I'm afraid of.
what kind of enforcement,
That
you
would,
know what I mean?
that would spin that plate if we just got a little bit of advice from,
Maybe
yeah, K&P.
ask KMP and.
Because we certainly don't want to do what happened in, what was it, somebody mentioned Salisbury or something where they started to enforce this and they got taken to court. They won, the zoning board won or whoever, but yeah, people get pretty upset.
Well, I don't think it's right to tell someone that the zoning the building inspector can come walk into their house with 48 hours notice.
I don't mind the I think the voluntary fill out the form, and if you don't fill out the form, then we send you a couple notices but it shouldn't be a problem except for the people that now have their cousins living there.
But that
It's
brings
zoning
us back to
enforcement.
the.
We have a zoning enforcement officer. That's his
Yeah.
job is to enforce the zoning, and this is part of it. I mean, not that he's got
Well,
time
it's
to
not
run all
really
these
part of
towns.
it. Okay, this will be an added responsibility to it.
No, I agree with that.
Okay.
But
And that's gonna involve a change, and it's gonna involve several sign-offs and, a collaborative agreement, and,
And it's not the people that are going to send the notice in that I'm worried about. It's the people that aren't.
Right, well, that's how we'll know.
why the
And then what
people,
we do with
guess
it
so.
from there, I don't know.
right now, basically, he acts on
Yeah.
complaints.
Well,
There's a
we need
complaint,
some advice, I mean,
you know.
obviously.
I think most of the people that are doing it illegally, they're gonna be sending that in. Check, yep,
Fine.
my cousin's
But
here, my son's
Under
here, my
pains and
grandmother's here, my
perjuries of law,
grandfather's
I
here.
agree that all
Okay.
this is true, so that's
Yeah, and-
that's their problem. I
Yep,
mean,
and no one's paying rent. And prove otherwise.
Talk to Mike and see if we can get a little bit of
You're right.
advice from somebody.
you're right.
I'll draft,
But-
how about this, I'll draft up
Oh,
an
it's an effort.
email.
When the whole email circulated, okay, everybody thought it was a good idea, but nobody wants to do the administrative and nobody wants to do the enforcement.
Why don't
She should do the administrative,
I, yeah,
and Mike or John should enforce if needed. But
what
you
if
gotta get
I,
hours for that.
what if I draft an email to,
Right,
How do you
and
get
that's
hours?
And that's gonna cost money with no money coming in return.
Well,
Well,
Okay, there isn't really
technically,
a
if you
return.
catch a bunch
No,
of
there isn't a
people and
return.
then we make them file for a permit because they're living there illegally.
And it won't be granted. That's true. They'd have to apply for a permit that we won't grant them.
Well, why
I
can't
don't
we
know,
grant
might
them?
not.
Huh?
We might not.
If they have other people other than their in-laws?
Oh, right, no,
Oh,
that's
if
true.
it's not
Right,
their
no, that's
in-laws.
rental, yeah, you're right. But not
So it's
legal.
only gonna be a family member that's, not paying.
Well, let's all think about this.
I don't see any way of enforcing.
do you,
it.
do you want me to just, not send anything, but just draft an email with some wording on what to ask Mike and how to ask Mike and what to ask town council, and then, although you can't email each other, but
Well,
You know,
unfortunately,
unless you wanna think of something and email me and,
what actually is happening here is the building inspector is being paid to enforce laws, and specifically as a result of somebody complaining about it. He doesn't have the budget to go around and enforce all the laws.
You're absolutely right.
So, I mean,
So are we the complainer for the people that didn't send their stuff in?
maybe we are. I don't know. Maybe we are. Maybe well, and again, let's face it. If you go on year after year with illegal tenants in an accessory apartment, and none of the neighbors care or they don't notice, and there's not like 6 cars in the drive up on
What's
the
the
front
worst
lawn.
thing?
I know. That's when people should complain.
Right.
So are we the complainers, right?
So we're the only ones complaining.
They care.
That's my point.
I know.
Like, and if there's a reason why there's 6 cars and there's people coming in and out, and it's very obviously not the grandparents, somebody should complain.
I disagree. I feel like it's if the town is willing to create this bylaw, and if they've charged us with reviewing these accessory apartments, by doing that, the town has an obligation to make sure that people are following.
But
Like, we shouldn't
who's-
just wait for people to
Well, the
complain.
question is, who's going to do that?
Yeah,
Who's
well, I
going
think
to
that's-
fulfill that
Well,
obligation?
we don't know.
I think Mike
good
is
question.
probably the appropriate person to say functionally it makes sense to do here. I feel like we're remiss, the town is remiss, and this board is remiss to say, yep, you can have it, yep, you can have it, yep, you can have it. And
Well, we
there's-
also make it very clear when it's granted, okay, that if something
We're
changes.
giving away the
even though
shop.
The house is sold, it's only under the qualifications that it's issued. and if the property is transferred, someone else has to come back before us again.
If they know that, if they see it,
Well,
See,
no,
that's the problem,
got
they
it
don't
granted.
see it,
So what about-
that's why
No,
probably
we make that
Chelmsford
pretty clear.
did this,
So
but
this is the thing.
that's why Chelmsford probably did the deed restriction, because now you see it, you're buying the property, you
Right.
see the deed, you see the
So-
restriction.
That is
If
on the
nobody's
deed.
complaining
Yeah.
and there's existing stuff happening, but what about cross-referencing the sales report with the special permits and sending a notice to all these new people and saying, hey, if you're using this as an accessory apartment, you need to file with us? Because that'll at least catch the people that didn't know versus the people that are knowingly ignoring it, even though they've been instructed by us and we've done our due diligence to prove to them that this is what you're supposed to do. Like, you're not supposed to do these things that we're worried about them doing. But I'm not going to be the complainer. I just, you know what I mean? Like, if nobody minds, if that neighborhood's happy, and why does it matter?
I just feel like the town has more responsibility than that, and I think the town needs
But
to
if
step
nobody's
up to the
upset
plate.
about it,
Well,
Well,
this
they
is where
may be,
this
they
is
just
where you
don't
run down
say
the
it.
road of ending up with rental properties, and that's it's not zoned for that. So you get one and nobody cares, and you get another one nobody cares, and then all of a sudden you get a whole street full of rental properties
And
that's
then
not zoned,
somebody-
and now all of a sudden they're pre-existing. The appeals period runs out, or they get grandfathered in. Next thing you know, you got a bunch of rental properties because we didn't enforce this stuff. That's what
So-
eventually is going to happen.
But the
What's
decision
the-
does say not to be used as a rental property.
yeah. So
But
why
no,
would
I
it get?
understand,
Why?
but,
How
but
could
it gets
get
sold.
Yeah.
And now it's not their special permit. That's
But
gone.
that's why I'm saying let's
know?
cross-reference the new stuff, and that way we'll
Yeah,
catch
oh,
those
absolutely,
people.
something.
Well, is it
Let's
grandfathered after 10 years?
Let's continue this conversation. Let's
Special permit's gone.
Let's
Now
let's
you're
ponder it.
using
I think
something, and if
I
you
think
prove
I
you used it for
understand.
10 years and nobody complains, guess
That's
what?
correct. It's
Now you got rental
grandfathered.
property.
we've all got
not,
things
and
to
you-
talk
I know.
about. I'm wondering if the planner can help us with this at all, like, or someone that's been.
We could start with, I don't think it's in his bailiwick, but I think we start with Mike and just say, look,
Yeah,
this
I
is our
think-
I agree.
concern, and if
And
you
he'll
think legal
probably
counsel's
ask-
got a quick answer to help us.
Maybe ask KMP
you know,
to what
KMP
extent we
knows
can.
a bunch of other towns, maybe they have similar
Yeah,
issues,
that's a good
and
idea.
we could start there. We've got some ideas, and some may be illegal, some may not.
We have about 3 minutes to finish this, unless we want to.
Well, we can go as long
No,
as
we
we
can
want.
go
but-
long.
Oh, I thought we had to start at 7:30.
No, as long as
not
you don't
before.
stop before 7.
I like to do things.
Okay,
Heated
so you want me to, so why don't I just draft an email
Okay, I just-
and send it out,
We
and you
just
can
gotta
send me
float it.
back what you think?
Yeah, let's just
Yep.
float it out there.
Okay.
We did it before and it worked pretty well. Some give and take.
Okay. Just on the other, another thing too, and I don't know if you wanna lump it in, but there's something in the bylaw, and I brought this to FinCom every time we have a budget meeting. Because another thing, which I guess, I don't know if I or we are supposed to do, but 16588, and this is kind of falls under the same. The Board of Appeals shall annually, as of June 1st, list which special permits and variants appear to still be in use.
Right.
How,
Well,
how,
There you go. See?
okay, which appear to have ceased during the previous year and which appear to have become invalid by reason of non-use for 2 years. This shall be a public record and a copy shall be sent annually to the selectman and the building inspector. How the heck am I supposed to do that?
well, that's got to be tied
it's never
into
been
that
done,
the
because-
software that they're trying to pull together over the.
Remember we were sitting at the FinCom budget meeting we had, and Mike said the permit tracking software is something that's going forward. So all the previous stuff, it's not like a database,
Oh,
I can
yeah,
put those
I know.
index cards in. And it's to track, for example, Noonan's is before zoning, and it's gonna go to site plan review, and it'll bring it up, you can see if it's gone to Board of Health, if it's gone to Concom, if it's gonna go to planning,
Right.
and you can see, and there's different colored flags, and this is just from we had like a 20-minute training thing up here. I haven't
Yeah.
gone to the training, but that's what it does, it's permit tracking to see what stages of permitting.
Yeah,
it's
from
in.
this point on.
It's not
I know.
any way a database of any
Well,
kind.
At some point, if the town deems it necessary, they're gonna have to go back and compile this the way you've been doing it. You've been doing sort of this on-running file
Yeah,
of things that are coming up, it's just, at some point, they're gonna, we'll have to push it or something. You know what we're talking about? It's like going
Yeah,
back
yeah, yeah.
20 years.
Well,
and-
that's
and-
the initial upfront. It's
getting it all
definitely a
on-
lot of effort. After
Right.
that, you're adding however many we grant. It's not a big deal, but tracking which ones are in use, which ones are not in use, which ones, a lot of work.
Yeah.
Huge amount of work.
We've
Okay.
granted quite a few since I've been here.
correspondence.
Correspondence.
Ready?
Correspondence.
Ready.
That's just the notice for next, that's 36 Prospect for next month. And I have given you your packets for that already.
Mm-hmm.
This is a special permit application distribution list from the planning board. They have a public hearing scheduled April 24th for the Lisa Lane OSRD. I have it here. I don't have a million copies of the plan, but if someone wants to, I don't know if you want to take a look at it.
Is this is that a hearing or is that a
I don't know
preliminary
if it's a
meeting?
pre-
Is
I
that
think
business?
they
or-
actually filed it. This isn't a pre-application. They filed it.
This is,
So they have a
starts
yield
their
plan
OSRD
here. And
hearing.
basically, I can just open it up and take a quick look.
Oh, public hearing scheduled, yeah, okay.
So, this is Lisa Lane, right there, this is the cul-de-sac, and it's going in Wilkins Way, Searle Street's here. So, I mean, this is just, you know, what they're going in with. This could end up being as many houses as they have there, or half as much. So it's a site plan approval. They're looking for comments by April 10th, but, I mean, at this point, I don't know if you have any,
Need more information.
yeah, once it gets started maybe, and. But I have this in the office if anybody wants to come and look at it,
Okay,
okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, what do we got? The zoning application. That is, I gave you what our application looks like now, and then I basically did a little research and went on different towns and found out, like, looked up what they have in their applications. Cause ours is, there's not a lot of room to write on this, there's not a lot of information, there's not even a place to check off floodplain.
I liked a lot of this. Some of it, I'm not exactly sure, but there were certain parts of,
Yeah, I changed it a couple of times and sent you a couple different versions. This was the last one, and I haven't had time to work on it. I got busy in the window, so I just, but the first page, I put this, and I don't know if we should keep this here, but there's, when the town clerk stamps it, it's always covering something, so I put this little block there, but a lot of the applications I found in a lot of the towns, Lincoln, there's at least most of them, just state that the application is to be submitted to the board staff for completeness before it's filed. So, I don't know if that's something you wanna put in there. Right now, I just tell people
you
that.
do it anyway if it's not complete.
I think it's nice for that it's on there though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can force them to, because legally, everybody has a right to file it whenever they want. They can just go to the town clerk, but if it's incomplete, it's gonna be rejected, because we've had that in the back of the application, on the back page, that if anything is missing, it will be rejected.
I think maybe people will come in more
Yeah.
complete, or at least have questions on why
Yeah.
they can't complete it, rather than
And
just.
I put a space under applicant for owner, license, you know, if someone's leasing something. If there's a buyer, like we had with the last two, we had PNSs. And just more room, and then, a requirement for a letter of authorization, because this is just stuff, they come in and I sit there and I just say the same thing
Yeah.
over and over again. And I started an instruction sheet, but putting it in the application is more.
Well, I think some of this spoon feeds the arguments that have to be made at the hearing, which a lot of
Right.
people completely miss.
Yeah, no, I
Particularly
think
for
this is
variances,
good.
I think special permits, even that could be expanded a little bit in some cases, but without getting too crazy in the application, but,
Yeah,
I
I didn't
I
wanna
have
put
a,
too much in there.
no, I totally appreciate that. I have an interest in cleaning this up too, because having gone through this process before,
So I figured maybe you guys could.
I'd
take
be
a
happy
look
to
at
help
it.
you
Would you?
specifically
Okay.
on this if you want. I don't have
Especially
time in
the-
the next week or so, but by the next meeting.
Yeah, so I'll put it on the agenda for
And if anybody
May.
else wants to, that's fine too.
But
But
I-
I'll
I-
take it as an action
What I
item to help you
really
work on it.
liked was on the page with the variances.
Yep, that was very good.
I have to
Yeah.
try and explain to them that the hardship has to relate to the soil shape, topography of the lot, and they just, you know what I mean? So if it's right there in front of you and explain why, and it's a question that they have to
It's
answer.
sequential. One thing leads to the next. What
Right.
is this? Now, how does that relate to this? So that really forces people to think through the argument that they have to make.
Yeah, I think
before the
that's
board.
fantastic.
So,
You know?
I haven't looked at the details, but I
I'm wanting
like
to
the
change this
approach.
application for
Yeah,
11
that's a
years
great idea.
now.
So-
Okay, so
We
I'll
can
work
do it
with
on
Jeff
our own.
on
We don't
it.
have to go, the board can change it.
Oh, yeah, no,
whenever they
that's
want.
just, yeah.
Yeah, you just need to vote on changing the application too.
Right.
Okay, so that'll go on for next May, along with, the accessory apartments too. I'll draft that email and send it to you. Okay, and you have the next application.
You want to close the business meeting?
Yes.
Motion to close the business meeting?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right,
None opposed?
business meeting closed. Gonna take a short adjourn, or, wanna keep going?
Fine.
I'm ready. Keep
All right.
going.
Let's get these
Great.
guys going.
Why don't you guys come on up?
Come on up, Steve.
You're next.
Steve. If you need a third chair, just grab one. If anybody is here for Noonan's, please sign in on the
Would you like to
podium,
read
please.
can you read that after I open the
Do we need to
hearing?
sign?
Sure.
Not you guys. Steve, if you want, I just threw that layout, if you have a better copy or anything, you can take that down and it's just clipped on there, but there's little things that'll sit on underneath. There you go. Yeah, if you wanna just take that one off. There you go.
All right. We're opening the hearing for the Flynn's at 269 Central Street, Noonan's Greenhouses. The Board of Appeals will conduct this meeting according to the rules laid out in Chapter 48 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Robert's Rules of Order, and its own particular set of rules entitled Rules of Procedure, a copy of which is on file with the town clerk. Another copy is available from the clerk at this meeting. This meeting is being tape recorded for the purpose of taking minutes. Once the minutes are approved, the tape may be taped over. The board members tonight are Sharon Freeman, Gina Tebow, Jeff Moore. I'm Paul Schillen, and this is Dave Kapnis. And why don't you read the legal notice, Dave? Thank you.
Legal notice, Town of Georgetown Zoning Board of Appeals. An application has been made by Stephen Flynn Sr. of 177 Millvale Road, Haverhill, Mass., owner and applicant of 269 Central Street, Noonan's Florist and Greenhouses in Georgetown, Mass., Assessors Map 9, Lot 1 in the RB District, for a special permit to operate an outdoor amusement, mini golf, use under MGL 40A-9 and Georgetown zoning bylaws, Chapter 165, 2, 9, 78, 79. A hearing will be held at the Georgetown Town Hall, 3rd floor, meeting room, Tuesday, April 9, 2013, at 7:30 p.m. ZBA file 13-10. The AD is 129-01036, Georgetown record 37 and 3/14/2013.
Hi, you guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Just so you know, there are no previous hearings on this property. This has all been there for a long time.
Okay, good. Why don't you start by telling us what you have or on video, obviously, so tell everyone what you have currently, what you're running on your property now, and then how you'd like to change it.
We're currently running a greenhouse, garden center, florist shop, and wholesale operation out of our property. We've been there since 1985 and to present. We've been struggling with the economy like everybody, and in our industry, a lot of garden centers are turning to different ways to get people and to keep them occupied while they're buying flowers, or make it kind of a destination point. So in our industry, they're doing cafes, which we'd like to include with the mini golf. And we just feel it would help us keep our business vibrant, and yeah, I think it'd be a great asset to the town. So. Stephen, my son, is also part owner of Noonan, and this is kind of his project, so when you asked to explain some of what the mini golf is
yeah.
and stuff, he can probably handle it better than I can.
Sure, yeah, what's the business plan and the whole?
Well, what it came down to is we wanted to try to make it more of a destination so people would come, not just for plants, because our season is so short in the Northeast. It's 4 months out of the year you're actually able to make money, and April, May, June are our busiest months, and December. So looking at mini golf, that's busy July, August, September. So we're trying to keep an even flow. And when you think about mini golf, everybody's like, oh, you're gonna have clowns and big windmills. Well, we're trying to stay away from that. We're trying to do more zen, more landscaping. Like my big idea is that they have a scorecard, and you're playing for a round of golf. So every hole is going to have a different landscape, different bird basin, different trees, and each one will be marked. So while the family's out there playing golf, they're not only looking at all the beautiful plants and having a good time with the family, well, in the back of the scorecard, you're going to see plants that interest you. And in the back, you write it down, oh, I like this. So when they're all done, grab an ice cream or a coffee. The kids can, still enjoy the water features in the mini golf, but also the parents can kind of go over and look at the plants that they saw in the mini golf. So kind of incorporate the whole, family-oriented part of it.
Any brief questions? Because what we'll do is we're going to address just a few basic things, and then if there's anyone from the audience afterwards that has any input, I'm not sure, we can let them speak, and then we can then go. And by the way, if anyone does come up to speak, they need to address us directly, not the applicants, and then the board will then go ahead and ask more specific questions. Is there anything, do you need any more information, you guys, at this point?
Yeah, I'll have a lot of questions, but I'd like to just hear a little bit more about the overall plan, so, we can.
Yeah, go ahead.
continue the
Well, get as
discussion.
much.
I
sorry,
guess,
get as much information as you need.
The scheme that you have up here, is that the level of detail that you've gone to so far as the layout and?
As far as the mini golf, yes, we wanted to make sure we can actually get a permit before we actually contacted a real mini golf and say, this is what you can actually put. I mean, this is just renderings that
Right.
we kind of did, and following the scale of what the square footage that you can put in an 18-hole mini golf, and staying away from lot lines, the main road, wetlands, all that stuff. We kind of kept those into, but also kept with, around 20 to 30,000 square feet to put in an 18-hole mini golf.
So what is the?
This is not something that we're designing ourselves. There's a company out of Pennsylvania or New Jersey that this is what they do. This is kind of it's like a $200,000 mini golf course that it's not going to be plywood with exterior grass, put on it. This is really, it's going to be done nice. It's going to be an asset to the town. So.
And how big is the developed area there for the mini golf and your?
It's between, it's like 30,000 square feet.
I think it's 39.
I
on
have
the
39
plan.
plus the building.
Yeah, the building's 3,500 square feet.
3,500.
So it's 39,000 square foot in the developed the square footage of the area, including the building or not including?
Not including the building.
Buildings and other.
Yeah, 3,500.
So
Oh, go ahead.
is the new ice cream the building, or is that's the new, or is there
Yeah.
a building and an ice cream?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
gonna be the building and the ice cream.
Does the company that you're thinking of using, do they have a website or something? So how did you can you at some point give us that information so we could just take a look at? We probably,
Yeah.
the board may want to get more details on what type of thing they actually do. What you're describing is fine.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that there's no question about the quality of the mini golf. But I'm just wondering how you do
Well,
your
it's-
homework, your due diligence.
It's actually funny because I told him I had town meeting today, and he said, "Well, I can kind of," because I showed him I UPS our renderings,
Yeah.
and what you guys have in front of you. I actually sent him a whole packet on my own to
Yeah.
try to give him a heads up
Yeah.
what we're trying to do. So he actually sent me a little bit more elaborate drawings staying
Sure.
in that square footage. I have those.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
actually just in a box, right
Yeah,
there.
yeah. We'd
Oh,
like
that'd be awesome.
let's pass it around the board.
Give 'em back.
So it looks like you're, oh, right, here, I'll look at it next.
Are these the same thing?
Eliminating 3 greenhouses,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, those 3 glass
And
greenhouses.
those will,
Those are gonna be
be
used for
eliminated?
parking. Yeah.
We have land out back that, down the road, we hope to replace those. But for those greenhouses are so old, we only use them in March, April, and May. They're
I
they're
see.
antiquated, they're
Okay.
not very efficient.
okay,
So we only run them during that time of the year.
I see.
Feed starter.
Pardon?
Just a starter greenhouse.
Yeah, well, they were, in their time, they were the top of the line, but they're glass, and we can heat that whole big range that you see on there for less money than we heat those 3 glass houses, so they're
Whi-
quite
which-
expensive to
this
heat.
part? Which part do you?
The new one.
The,
The new, I'm sorry.
that's a new.
Oh, I
newest
see, I
range
see.
over here.
So when you say those 3 will go down the road, is it
Probably
on this
would
property?
Go out behind.
Go out behind here where F
Ye-
is? Where,
Yeah.
Yeah, right around here,
If
eventually.
you look at the sheet, the color sheet is the,
color sheet?
Yeah. So
And-
it's actually not on this plan.
No.
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 It's not for now.
It's not for now. I mean, if we have to, in the next year or two, just have to purchase extra material to sell what we were growing in March, April, and May, we can do that.
And would that that wouldn't come before here? Like if they needed to relocate these 3,
No.
replaced or relocate, they
Existing.
would just do that on the property and
yeah,
that's
they're
not part of anything we need to
existing.
be
That's what-
concerned
when I
about?
talked to Joanne about
Okay.
moving things around as long as it was already there.
Well, these aren't already there, they'd be
So if
relocated.
But
they're
he's-
buying new, they would
If
just
he's
file for a
buying new,
permit.
no, he's been there and.
Okay, okay.
The rendition, down the bottom, it says Ice Cream Cafe
Are these the same?
and Game House. What exactly is a game house?
That would be like, we were thinking about while keeping the kids busy, just to put a couple arcades in there. Just to keep the kids busy while their mothers like purchasing ice cream for them. And that's all we kind of put on the plan, like that was still conceptual to us. And then the building inspector's just like, all right, well, just to let you know, you need special permits for that and all that. And this is still on the,
On the,
yeah.
on the drawing board still,
Yeah.
so to speak.
yeah.
Harris is the company doing the designs?
Yeah.
Yes. Do you have any idea what type of rate you would need out of this? What are you looking at for number of vehicles coming in and out of here? Well, I mean, do you know what kind of a use?
I did see
Well,
that somewhere.
once, our next step after this, if we get a special permit, we wanted to hire a company to do a business plan, which will give us a rough idea of what we could possibly do with this operation. The bank obviously would need something like that to help us, loan the money to build it.
when we take down those glass houses, we're adding, I think it's 50 more parking spaces there. So that'll give us parking for about 115
Yeah.
total, so.
15.
We'll have to go to planning too, won't they?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a feel for the amount of traffic, that you're trying to generate on your site to differentiate this kind of use.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big use. And,
That's
it's
also-
an expensive thing, so,
Yeah,
I mean, you
right.
gotta have to generate a certain
Yeah.
amount of business in order to do that,
Right.
which is gonna generate a certain amount of vehicle flow. I'm just trying to get an understanding.
And that's why I
get an
kinda-
idea of what it is.
That's why it kind of works good with us, because that's when mini golf hits its peak, we're actually, I mean, by that point, our parking lot's a quarter full. At that point, April, May, and June, you can't, especially not this year, but April, May, and June, you can't find a parking spot there. Once late June, July hit, it's really empty.
Yeah.
I have a couple other points, but maybe
Let's,
the audience
is there
can-
anyone from the audience that has any, would like questions answered or anything?
Yeah.
Come on up and tell us who you are so she can write your name down.
Name
And
and address?
Matthew Wheeler, 264 Central Street. The only, we realized we live right across the street. We've lived there for a couple of years now. So we know, like, firsthand what Noonan's and that whole organization brings to the town. We see the kids in the playground and getting ice cream. So we actually enjoy, everything that goes on across the street. The only question or concern we had about this was travel to and from it, because we watch now, and even ourselves, kids coming from, and families coming from downtown Georgetown, going down Central Street on essentially the side of the highway. So our concern really was more for public safety is how do people, pedestrians get back and forth from, where the sidewalk ends up by, so I think it's like Elm Street, like right at the end of Elm right there. It kind of ends, so we were just wondering if it was possible to extend the sidewalk all the way down so kids aren't walking, kids, families, they have dogs, they pedal their bikes right on the side of 97. So that was our only concern. Otherwise, like I said, we enjoy what Noonan's brings to the neighborhood, and we appreciate, all of the amenities they have over there. So
Sure.
that was our only
Great.
concern. That's something we'd like to bring up.
Good point.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matthew.
And,
Yeah, that road is,
yeah.
especially headed towards the highway from your location, is a horrible place to walk, or run, or
Or
whatever.
run.
There's some tight turns and very little shoulder, so.
I'm sure that
Mm.
this could be addressed in one way or another, working with the town or something. I don't
I
know.
mean, it would still need, site plan approval would,
Right.
Right, that's a big
Because-
part of it.
the
Well-
planning board would deal with
The planning board,
curb
yeah.
cuts and sidewalks and parking and all of that.
But
So-
my
Yeah.
personal feeling is that is a town responsibility. You can't put that on a business that's at the very. I totally agree. I feel strongly about the sidewalks in town and the lack thereof. However, to make that as part of this, I think it's the town needs to raise this. The highway surveyor needs to raise this. They need to think about this as they rebuild the Pembroke.
Well, yeah,
Can I just
exactly.
say-
Sure, come on up.
Yeah, we didn't really necessarily come here. We just thought it was a good opportunity to bring that up. We don't
No,
necessarily. We
absolutely.
wouldn't like to see them. I know that's a town. That probably might be more of a town issue than a business issue. But we just figured we'd thought about it, and we see the kids walking up and down the street. So we really didn't know if we just walk into town hall with a letter. But we actually saw this, and we said maybe this is a good opportunity to at least bring it up,
Yeah.
and not necessarily burden them with it. But
Yeah, they'll
just
have
bring
to
it
go
up.
through a,
But are you
a whole
saying you're
nother-
in opposition, or are you?
Oh no, if
Just-
we
that's just
like I
a-
said, we think we like what what they bring to the town, and they do have a playground there. They have the ice cream shop, so it's we definitely enjoy, and we think we realize firsthand what the town gains from it because there's people there playing, and you can hear the kids all day over there. So we just kind of bringing up the idea that we didn't know whether we just bring it with a piece of paper and say we think there should be a sidewalk.
No,
we
it's
just
good.
thought this was a good forum to
I
bring it
have
up.
to tell you, I tried to raise this to a higher level. We started a traffic safety committee. We tried everything we could. And this little committee, could not get the town, in my opinion, to be committed about improving sidewalks and pedestrian access. I don't know where to do it. I'm pretty stuck. I think it's a pretty major issue. And,
Well, granted, remember, this is a use that's not allowed, okay, by right. So
The
it is
mini golf.
absolutely within our preview to be able to mitigate concerns that we feel are legitimate. Okay, that's specifically why this area is not necessarily set up for lots of traffic on the road. So
Okay.
if that's something that is a condition of whatever it is that they want to do, I'm not passing judgment at this point. I'm just, the point being that, you know, this is a use that is not allowed in this district. They're coming here for special permission. So if that's a concern, then it would have to be addressed by this board somehow. And if,
Okay.
yeah, and I agree. I don't know what the solution is, but the planning board obviously want to take a hard look at that as well.
I think it's I
It is a
understand
problem.
what you're saying.
Coming
I
out of
think
there
it's-
now, it's.
Yeah.
You know, I'm no expert. I just, you know, but I go down that
Really
road every
good.
once in a while, and I've used to run down there and going around that corner. I'd have to cross the street 3 times because if you're on the inside corner, there's like nothing there.
Yeah, I live right
yeah,
on
you
that
live
corner.
right there. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I think I've got to cross to your front yard to get around that corner because you've got to see what's coming. It's rough.
I go down that road a lot. I don't see a lot of pedestrian traffic there.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Because obviously it's not a great place to be walking. Okay? Especially if you're toting children. So I wouldn't know really I wouldn't be able to make a qualified opinion, state a qualified opinion that I think that that's an area that, you know, is a concern. Because I think it's beyond my field of expertise to say, I have no idea how much pedestrian traffic is on that road.
And I don't think that this is gonna make there be more pedestrian traffic than there is now. I think I agree with you that we definitely need more sidewalks, but I don't think this is necessarily gonna make
Sorry.
more traffic. Are you whistling at me?
Just real quick,
No, that was me.
when I heard arcade, we do have in the use schedule, there's indoor amusement and outdoor amusement. So if you did wanna do arcades, you need a special permit. I'm not the building inspector or the zoning enforcement officer, but it just, when you said arcade,
Right.
I went right to indoor amusement, which is a separate special permit, just so you know.
But is there anyone else from the audience that would like to speak? No. We're gonna work through this, and it's obviously a big project. It impacts Georgetown in a big way, in a good way. But it's complicated, so the board is just going to work through the issues that are coming to our mind. And obviously, I don't know what the outcome will be, but then you need to go in front of the planning board, correct? For a site plan review?
Yeah, we'd love to know what the process is. I
Okay.
thought
Exactly.
we go to the building inspector with a plan, once we have it done.
Right.
And then he sends us to the planning board to sign?
Yep.
So, but do we go to the planning board before we go to the
I
building
know,
inspector?
yeah, I know.
So,
You're doing it the right thing. You're
He
coming
went-
here
he-
without investing a lot of money, because some people have already, like, invested thousands
don't
in
have the
an
money to
architectural
do
plan.
that.
So he went to the building inspector, which is the first step, and he wrote the denial to come here. If the use is granted, then he has to see conservation, that's under new correspondence, which you need to
Yeah.
read, and I emailed you a copy. Because there's
So we'd
wetlands to
see
the
them
back lot.
before the building
There's a
inspector.
100-foot buffer there. And then you would need to go to site plan approval for the planning
Yeah.
board. You'd need a lot more detail, I think,
We
with this,
can do
because
that.
they do sidewalks and curbs and parking and how this whole thing would work and where they might want you to plant something. And, you know, you plant,
May also need
You know.
major development review, because this is over 30,000 square feet, so depending on the traffic and all of that, the amount of traffic that's gonna be generated from the business plan,
Yeah.
whether if that exceeds, 500 vehicles a day or something like that in that district, to a major development review. Perhaps, I don't know, that would be up to the planning board. That's another,
Yeah.
May-
I'm pretty sure.
I may have to go to Board of Health too for septic.
Yeah, we figured that.
So
How about
Yeah.
lighting? Are you proposing any evening lighting of this course at all, or,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that would be,
so it'll be lit at night?
as well as the parking lot.
yeah.
Do you have any lighting now in the parking lot, or no?
Yes.
But you're expanding by, what'd you say, 50?
50 cars.
So you probably have to add some lighting.
Yeah.
Right now, we have town lights that we pay for, They light up the parking lot.
The planning board may have them add lighting.
Right, but that's not,
Yeah.
that's for the planning board to decide, right? I'm just kinda throwing it out there, so you guys are trying to say, all right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this too.
How about hours of operation? That they would probably increase. Time do you guys normally close in the summer?
We'd be, the ice cream's open till, what, 8 or 9?
9.
9. So that would be the latest.
But there'd be a lot more activity in the middle of summer because of the mini golf.
Would you want to do later than 9?
No, I think we're. I have kids right next door too, so I think 9's. I think 9. We're
Okay.
We're gonna stick to 9.
Okay. Because now I'm just asking because now would be the time to.
Yeah. No, we're gonna stick till 9.
The existing, you have the ice cream stand in there.
Yeah, what's
No,
going on with
in
that?
the restaurant, whatever you want to consider.
Yeah.
That, I'm a little confused on the history of that, because you're expanding. Do you know what size that is now approximately? Like how big that?
It's about 30 by 25.
Yeah, it's not big.
Okay. And what's the size of the new, you just told me the new building is
3,500.
3,500, so you're,
It's about the same.
No,
no, it's
My math.
750 to 3,500.
yeah, it's
Oh, yeah.
substantially larger. So you're
I'm
expanding.
an engineer.
4 times.
So, it's a couple of
I
bathrooms.
let it slide.
I have a cold.
No, my point being, there was no previous hearings for this property, right, Patty? So you don't have a variance or a special permit for the
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 Henborg.
existing use for Henborgs, basically. That would essentially be, I guess, a legally conforming, legally existing non-conforming use over there.
Actually, it's Frank Luna,
Yeah.
Newman's attorney.
Oh, okay,
I'm
thank you.
sorry, wait a minute. Hold on. What's your name? I'm sorry.
Frank DeLuna, D-I, capital L-U-N-A. That falls under your 48, section 3 exemption, where ice cream under Parish versus Sharon is considered an agricultural product.
Can you
They're
speak up a little
I
bit?
can't hear you.
They're allowed as, under the exemption of 48, section 3, to carry other agricultural products as long as they meet their quotas. So actually, that ice cream went in as an exempt activity.
Is it an accessory use to the,
It doesn't have to be an accessory use.
Yeah,
It is,
sorry.
as long as it is selling an agricultural product.
Sorry, I should have.
Does that
brought up
include,
in
does
the
that
beginning.
include the food, is the food included under that?
Yes. You can take a look at the Lookout Farm case.
No, that's right, I hear you, that's right.
When Steve came in to file this, I'm sorry, and I think I sent you guys an email,
Ice cream like
I took him down to see the assessor because I knew it was agricultural. So that's just 61, section 61A, and because I was concerned about if he's getting another use on here, he may have to pay back rollback taxes. And I know Jay gave you some criteria on depending where it is and all that, and so he's spoken to Jay, but it is agricultural.
This is actually, if you look at the way they have this set up, where they are actually selling the decorations that are in the golf course, right? And they have available for sale the plants, that the landscaping, this is actually a marketing technique. And under 128, section 1A, the marketing of agricultural products is still considered agriculture and farming. So it's kind of a unique blend that they have, because by inviting the public in, and right now, I said earlier, one of the fastest growing areas of agriculture is agritourism, bringing people onto the farms. I mean, we have it all over the place, the weddings that are going on the farms, all sorts of social events, conferences are coming onto the farms. If you go to Kimball's Ice Cream up in
Westwood. Yeah.
all right, they have almost an identical operation. They have a nursery, they have a dairy, and they have a mini golf. So this is a relatively accepted marketing tool in the trade now. Unique, but accepted.
I'm not familiar with Westford's zoning code, so I'm not gonna
Oh, that's fine.
suggest that it's necessarily comparable, but you know, I see where you're going there, but you're substantially increasing that as a restaurant. You are selling ice cream out of there,
Yes.
you know, but, at 3,500 square feet, I guess I'd be interested to know a little bit more about what the real plan is for that
Well, we're
building.
trying to get people to sit inside with the ice cream. There was a big to-do about people even coming to get ice cream in the fall with the triple E virus. So we're trying to get people to sit inside. It's gonna be just a cafe with the ice cream, so there will be soup and sandwiches, but there won't be fried food or anything like that. Desserts, that type of stuff.
So is it still gonna be a stand, or is it gonna be weighted tables?
No,
Not weighted tables.
Not
So it'll still be a stand, and then there'll just be tables where
Yeah.
people can sit. All right. So
I have a quick question for you, sir. Is there any sort of square footage relationships between your actual agricultural use and your so-called amusement or anything like that?
Marketing?
Yeah, your marketing.
That's a stretch.
No, I mean,
It's a great
there is no
argument.
ratio. The only ratio that you actually have is in the 61A, where they have to grow 25% of what they sell during their major harvest season, which in their case is April, May, and June.
Yeah.
All right, and that's the only ratio that's in any of the statutes.
That's incredible. So you could actually flip this thing completely around, couldn't you? And be well, and I'm not saying this is happening here, but you could have a huge restaurant and a teeny little garden patch as long as you're selling 25% of what you're selling is what you're growing, right? So could the building become quite large and be a full-time restaurant at some point?
There are several areas actually on APR farms where they do conduct full-scale restaurants, but, all right, if they go into that scale, they still have to have a farm stand that is supplying, or a farm that is supplying the restaurant
Right.
to those proportions.
Yeah.
So there is a check and balance in there. You can't open up a hilltop
Right.
and say, you know, my 5 cows in the backyard are
Yeah.
get slaughtered in April, and that's our principal season. Now, that would
Yeah.
work.
And their predominant sales is dairy products, and that's a farm product. Though they're not producing it, they're producing other things that.
Who's they? Wait a minute.
These guys, if the
They
ice cream
produce
shop.
nursery stock.
Oh, I understand, but they're selling the ice cream. I thought was considered sort of an agricultural
The
product.
ice cream can be the other 75%
Right.
of what is sold. Right?
Even though they don't have a cow on the property.
Well, right, but it doesn't. So
You don't
Get
need
one.
the cow.
I thought the implication
Probably not a lot of
was.
milk in there either,
I thought
actually.
the implication was that it had to be somewhat of a ice cream is a dairy product. It's a farm product.
Well, you know, there's
I think we're getting a little
ice
off
cream.
base.
This is Sharon Parish versus Sharon, which set the foundation for that principle. Now, that principle failed in Concord with the Concord cones, and what happened is Arena Farm bought an ice cream joint and put some flowers in the ice cream joint and said, we're gonna operate this under the exemption.
Right.
And the court said, wait a minute, this isn't connected to the farm. This is a freestanding ice cream business that you purchased, and you just happen to be selling some fruits and vegetables there.
Right.
That didn't fly,
Yeah.
right? But in their case, the ice cream is incorporated on the same grounds as the farm.
Yep,
It's
yep.
completely different.
Yep.
Got it.
So the courts have set up some balances.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
So what's happening to the existing ice cream shop?
That'll be storage,
Okay.
so it'll move
I just
over.
didn't see anything noted, unless I didn't
No,
read
there's
something.
nothing
Okay.
noted.
And then this outdoor cafe, is that just picnic tables, or is
Yeah,
there gonna be
just
cover?
picnic tables. Right now, there's a shade house over there. There's like a
Okay.
25-foot shade house over there that
Mm-hmm.
we've putting the picnic tables underneath there for some shade.
Oh, okay.
Is that wooden structure that
Yeah.
you guys have? Okay.
Yeah.
Where are you gonna put your shade perennials now?
Those are gonna go all back.
Everything goes out back. I know. That's the only place I'm gonna go is out back now.
Can we still get out back?
Yeah.
The garden center greenhouse will actually we'll build an entrance or an exit to go out to the back area,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it'll be a nice flow.
Yeah, yeah, good.
The one on the floor?
Yeah, can we take
Yeah.
a look at that?
Can I put that up?
You want to put it up?
I think it's.
I see.
I think it's gonna be nice.
That's the 3,500 foot baby, right?
Okay, so you could take,
She's done.
it's gonna be an outside counter versus, and an inside
Yeah.
counter. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the actual, exactly what it's gonna look like. This is just a,
This is this is what we kind of want it to look like. What we basically wanted to show you, it's not going to be a little shack. It's going to be a little bit more upscale, like the mini golf.
Any questions, guys? We're actually addressing what, this is a change of use, Jeff or Patty?
Special permit for a use.
yeah, it's actually not really a change. It's,
Did you do did you end up doing a motion for this?
look at what John, hold on. I did
think
some
I saw it.
aerials if you needed them.
Same, right?
Hold on.
I'm
I just wanna
I'm
read
stuck between,
John's drawing.
understanding, I think, in general, what it is you're looking to do, and not having enough definitive information to, put into any kind of a permit. I'm not there yet as
It's
far
just
as
a u-
what this
it's-
is really going to be. And I know, I completely appreciate what it is you're doing, as far as, let's get the concept out there and
Additional use.
see what flies, without
What is it
breaking the
that-
bank.
What is it that you don't understand?
Well, we can, if the board were interested in allowing this use, based on, a couple of square blocks and a rendering, it could end up being anything that you wanted it to really be. We're not gonna design, design this for you in the meeting. The design needs to be brought to us, and I think if a special permit were considered, it would have to be in accordance with the plans provided. And, to me, this isn't providing the detail that I'm looking for yet. I'm not sure, I don't know, I'm not quite there yet. Is this, was this rendering, where did that go?
Oh,
Maybe
this,
like this.
Yeah, was that specifically for you guys? I'm
Yes.
just
Yeah.
confused on.
I had the building, I just asked of the building inspector about, do you think that's enough? He goes, well, it's the use, you're not getting into
Building plans.
design or the planning will
It's the use.
more than take care of that.
Right, but
But yeah, I know.
I don't know what we're talking about, lighting at night, you're talking about light
Lighting is
towers, I
planning.
mean, those things make a big difference on what it is we're be allowing, and the planning board obviously is gonna have a lot to say about
Right.
all of that as well, but,
Is that where we would address all those issues, the height of the lights,
If you look at 165,
yeah, but the integrity of the design is something that kinda gets set, I think, up front. So,
If you
I
go,
don't
if
know.
you have your
probably hear
bylaw,
the other board's comments
Paul.
on it first, cause I'm not sure.
Yes.
just if you look at
She wants you to
16583,
Sorry.
it gives you every single thing that site plan approval.
Oh, sure, yeah, they're gonna,
So that's, I think what Patty's saying is that we don't need to have it for us, but planning is gonna need it for them.
no, I know, but conceptually,
And it's, I don't know how many pages long.
I'd like
Exterior
to see
lighting.
the design a little more refined before I'm comfortable saying that.
It goes.
Well,
Something
on,
that-
on the
On
building
and on.
or the mini golf, that's pretty accurate, other than the height of the lights. I understand that question, but that's gonna be pretty accurate, wouldn't you
So
say?
this is the one that was made for you
That
guys.
was the one that just came in today.
Today.
Right before we left, it came in around 5 o'clock.
Alright, so this isn't necessarily the exact one that you're gonna be putting on.
That should be pretty close to exactly before they come here. And he says things may switch when he sees the land, but that's what he would design for that specific area,
Okay.
square foot wise.
Yeah, lighting's definitely an issue. What we're trying to do, basically, granting a permit, it's our job to make sure that it's not detrimental to the community. That's all we do. And that's why what Jeff is suggesting is, we trust your judgment, but we just aren't sure. So like lighting is an issue. I think vehicular circulation is something that you guys may want to consider, because this is a big deal, you know, so you may consider entry in one point, exit in another point, or something like that. I don't know if you can do it, because you got the hillside on the left there, I don't know, but simplifying that, making it a little bit easier, because if the use is going to increase, like, it's not going to increase on a monthly basis, because you're gonna have your busy time, and then you're gonna have your sort of off time, but that's gonna become more busy, so overall the use is going to increase. Yes?
Obviously, I don't appear before you all that often, but would the board be comfortable issuing the special permit for the use of the property as it is not detrimental to the neighborhood, subject to site plan review? Because all these.
We go through this all the time, this is exactly, it's like.
Let's just punt it to the planning board and let them
Yeah,
figure
it's a
it.
condition.
I'm personally not convinced that the use is not detrimental to the neighborhood yet, because I mean, there's a big difference between what it is you're proposing and, Pirates of the Caribbean, whatever, up on the
mean,
beach
site
somewhere.
plan
I get that, I
review can
understand.
deny it.
But there's a
Approval
fine
can
line
deny it.
between something being kind of tacky and cheesy right off 97 on one of the main thoroughfares of Georgetown, and something being really nicely thought out. And I think you guys are certainly on the right side of that. But it's the first time I've seen this.
Yeah,
Like I said before, all we got was this a month ago, and I said, that's not doing it, because I don't know what that means. And these, 97, 133, these are the main, like I said, these are the main thoroughfares of our town. This is what all the traffic, is gonna be seen by a lot of people. It's a benefit to you, you're gonna have a lot of traffic going by. There's not a lot of abutters here, which is kind of an interesting thing. So I'm not saying that I'm steadfastly opposed. It's the first time I've seen this, and I would personally like a little more time to think this through and think about what some of my other concerns would be specifically.
And again, just in fairness to us too, they were just hoping to get it here before the meeting, just so, I know you guys have.
I understand.
I know you guys have a broad thing, but this just came in today.
Yep.
And I opened the package on the way over, I'm like, oh, I can't believe he actually did this for us, but I quickly glanced at the plan, and he actually does have lighting on there.
Yeah.
And he has, I think, 25 foot, again, it's in the cardboard package I just opened on the way over here. It does show, various lighting throughout the thing, and I believe it says 25 foot tall lighting, but I can make copies and all that for you too.
I mean, I'm just saying, I appreciate you doing whatever you can to get us the information we have, but I'd just like a little more time personally to digest it all. I don't know what other board members feel at this point. I'm just one of several here.
Do we want to, well, you're basically asking to continue it, which
I'm not ready to vote on this yet. That's where I am. If the board,
You wanna
rest
mull it
everybody
over?
else is, then that's fine
Are
with me.
you is this like a 2-year project here for you guys? Are you gonna break ground in like, you're waiting for us to decide? In other words, is 1 month?
Our opportunity, this is kind of our plan. We're filling the nursery area where the mini golf will go. So we're filling it with shrubs now. We're hoping we get through that season and start this in the fall when it's empty.
Yeah.
So,
I-
do we have another month?
Fall.
We
Yeah,
might.
well, what can we, I mean, I think
Be
what
done with
there was,
planning in the fall.
What is the difference if they
Right.
go to
I
planning
never thought of
and
that.
then come back to us with more of the detail with what we're looking for, so we don't see the pink dinosaurs and the neons? I think Jeff's a little concerned about.
Well, hey,
asking-
we've been burned
I-
before with everything
I
from
understand.
signs to porches to
Well,
everything else. It
that's a
sounds
whole
like a
nother
great
thing.
idea, and it goes up and says, what the heck did we allow there? I mean,
That's-
we've made a lot of mistakes in the past.
My-
Be the first to admit it.
How
We
much
try to
of
correct
that
them
is
when we
us
can,
and-
but-
my list right off the bat is vehicular access. It's like the organization of that and the safety at that corner, lighting, signage, hours of activity, which you said 9 o'clock, which I think you're crazy. I think you should go longer, but I love the fact that you're going at 9
At
because
least on the weekends.
it just tones the whole thing down. It creates a whole, instead of the one that's in Natick, we're on Route 9 there that's open till like 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not interested in that.
Right, no, I understand. And then the last thing I noticed right off the bat is as inefficient as those greenhouses are, that's like a very charming aspect of your property, because they're sort of old, and so you're gonna remove those, put parking in. Clearly, you guys will be able to address sort of a buffer there a little bit. I don't mind that you can see down into everything, I think that's important. But at the same time, sort of softening that whole stretch, because it's gonna look totally different. So I think little views down into the mini golf course is great, but I don't think you don't want to have just rolling lawns down to it, because again, you live on a very rural, it's a very rural area.
Right.
It's beautiful. So, those are my issues that I wouldn't mind if you guys could address those a little bit for our next meeting. Signage, lighting, some look at how you might be able to address the vehicle, in and out. Can we look at it carefully? I don't know whether you move your mulch pile and try to come in, and I don't know. That's a little bit of what I do for a living, and I think if you guys all went out there and sort of like, how could we do this so it's a little safer, and address that issue. I mean, right off the bat, you can address the issue of the current amount of children that are walking up that road. I'm not suggesting you need to build a sidewalk or anything. What'd I do?
No, I just thought of something. You just said the height of the lights. I'm just wondering, 35 feet.
I think it said 25.
No, I mean,
There's a maximum height?
well, it's building height, but anything that goes over height,
They won't need
the
to.
planning board seems to think it's planning.
They won't need to
With
do
a
that.
waiver,
Look at
but
it.
anything that
Tower
goes
lighting.
over 35 feet is a variance with the zoning board.
Yeah, but
So
I imagine
maybe
you're not
you
looking at
said
tower
25.
lighting here, you're
No.
looking at.
But if
you
it's
know.
agricultural, I don't know, I don't know. I don't know
I
if
don't think that's,
okay.
they're not even going, I
Okay.
mean, they need to address it. We need to know what the light,
That's a question for John.
So, I think part of their concern is they don't want to spend all this money to get all these plans if they don't think it's gonna
Yeah.
pass. Can
Right.
we give them some sort of level of comfort to invest this money at this point, or is that something that we can't do?
no, I would just say address the issues I have, and any other issues the board has. Let them come back and say, this is how we plan on doing this, because again, this is a use issue, but we're getting into issues that we're protecting the integrity of the town. That's, then we can grant the use, assuming that it's a nice looking building, assuming it's a nice looking little golf course, assuming the parking is nicely done. Maybe not a huge parking lot, maybe, and you guys always do great things, and you plant in the middle with your big pots, and I'm sure you'll do that again. Those are all really important. And what would be great is you could add this amenity to your existing business without losing the integrity of what you have. I'm sure you want to do that. That would be,
Exactly.
shoot yourself in the foot. So I have a list of things that, would you guys be interested in just sort of addressing them a little bit? And
We have no problem with the continuance.
Right.
If you could give us kind of a list of stuff that, without having to go out and hire an architect.
yeah,
I mean, we just don't have that kind of
that's
money.
what I think. I'm not sure how
I
the.
mean, we don't mind hiring an architect once we know we can go ahead and do
Yeah,
it.
well,
We know
it's-
we have to do that.
Yeah, they make it difficult. It's like,
Are they gonna need that for plan review?
Oh my
yeah,
God, they're
yeah,
gonna need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what
Yeah,
they're
okay.
saying is without
Let
the
me-
use,
let me
they
just-
don't wanna.
Can I give
Right,
you?
and that's why I'm asking if we
And I
can-
brought this just in case.
I mean, are you,
Um,
do you think even if they answer all the questions that you're gonna say no?
no,
I'm not ready to make
Okay.
an opinion on it yet.
You wouldn't-
I'm-
I would
I'm-
say
Either way,
that-
Can I-
I'm just,
can
I
I
wanna
just-
digest this a little bit.
site plan review, just the application. This is just the checklist. Do you want me to go read it really quickly? So you know what they have to do.
Well, we
for
can
site
read,
plan
we have the
approval?
bylaw, I mean, we know what planning.
No,
board-
this is a checklist that the
Oh,
planner
I'm
made. It's
sorry.
not in the bylaw.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And it's just, besides the copies, the abutters list, all of that, the locus map, the arrow on the plan, location of wetlands, which is delineation, which you gotta go for conservation, and probably do an ANRAD, that's just to delineate the floodplain, and the buffer zone, location of all wetlands and buffer, easements, coverage percentages of building and impervious area, location and name of all streets and indicate whether the street is public or private, abutting lot lines, zoning lines, existing and proposed topography contour lines at 1 or 2 foot intervals, Information on the location, size, and type and number of existing and proposed landscape features. A proposed plant list containing species, common name, size, caliber shall be included. Information on the location, size, capacity of existing and proposed on-site and abutting utilities, water, sewer, drainage, electrical, cable, etc. The location and dimensions of all existing and proposed buildings and uses on the site, including sheds, dumpsters, etc. Elevation and facade treatment plans of all proposed buildings, color renderings are encouraged. Information on the location, size and type of parking, loading, storage, and service areas, zoning and other applicable setback distances, zoning parking calculations, fire lane, details and specifications, if applicable, for proposed sire amenities. I think that's a typo or not. Including but not limited to.
Site amenities.
Site amenities, that's a typo. Don't let Wendy know that. And, including but not limited to fences, walls, other barrier materials, and special paving materials. Limit of work delineation, maximum number of employees, signature box, site distance, that's more for a subdivision. If any waivers are sought, they shall be clearly listed. Additional information is required regarding traffic, community impact assessment, town character, parking, landscaping, see section 16583, site plan approval, and that goes more into the lighting. There's pages on lighting and parking. That's a checklist. And then there's the application.
And
So,
am I to understand that if we grant the use permit,
Then they gotta do all that.
well, understand, yeah, I understand, but the planning board generally, they're not usually in the business of rejecting a plan out, a project outright, are they? They're more into make these changes.
Actually, the planning board, in this instance, can't deny site plan approval. They can just condition it.
That's right.
Right, and, yeah.
And they may wanna look at major development review as well in this
I
case.
was told they can.
They can deny it.
But the use. I mean, they could,
Well, the use is up
Because
to
it used
us,
to be
isn't it?
site plan review, now it's site plan approval. It was changed at town meeting. I don't know if that means they can, but I thought John said they can actually. Not sure.
well, I think
No, you got two different,
you're gonna have to get a special
I mean-
permit from them for a major development, and which is gonna require site plan approval as well, so, you know, they're gonna,
But theoretically, if they
a
can
lot
get
to-
by us, then more than half the battle is done. And then they can invest the money in all these other things they need to provide to the planning board. I know, I'll speak for you, that you want more detail on things. You just wanna make sure that it's going to be an appropriate project for the town, and I have a list of things that I would like you guys to address, one way or another. Hopefully sufficiently that I would feel comfortable with the things that are here. And the only challenge to that is that, I've been instructed that if you give someone a list of things to address, then it's presumed that I'll say yes. And that may not be the case. I don't wanna, again, I think we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
We just have to, we're doing this to represent the townspeople, basically, you know that. So we just have to do our due diligence to make sure we're comfortable with it.
and they also hire Larry Graham if need be, as their engineer to probably look at the entrance and stuff, they do that.
Yeah,
All
I
the
mean,
time.
again, for me, it would be
Larry Graham's the
conceptual. All
engineer.
this is conceptual at this point.
but who hires them as well?
Planning board.
Is there anything that we're discussing about our possible concerns that planning is not gonna, after the list that Patty just read?
I don't think so.
I think she just hit everything that's on
Yeah.
our list.
Yeah,
I agree.
right.
true,
No,
except that the use itself, I'm not necessarily gonna pound you on a whole bunch of details, other than what Paul's already said, if there's something that can be addressed, I'd like to know a little bit more about it. I may think of a few more over the next couple of weeks or whatever, and I would, that can be gone through Patty and say, hey, have they thought about this, have they thought about that? In the meantime, I'd like to consider the use in general.
We can cut
Go
it
back
down.
to the property and kind of think it through. Now I can kind of visualize now having, had a pretty good presentation by you, that what it is you're talking about.
You might feel more comfortable going to that Harris website and seeing some of
Yep.
the projects, and
What's the name of it?
Stephen can probably.
The website?
Harris.
It's on the, they're on that sheet, right?
Yeah, I wrote it down
Also
too.
take the
Yeah,
plans
do you
and
have a-
come over to the greenhouse
a
facilities.
Absolutely.
Paper copy of?
Harris
You
Mini
get a
Golf
better
Inc.
feel for
If
the terrain
they're
and
both identical, they can have one.
Yeah.
I know, but
It's
that,
Harris Mini Golf Inc.
we can have this?
Yeah.
Okay, we just, you wanna mark this at all?
Special permit of this magnitude is gonna involve
can't
some conditions, I'm sure, that,
Attach this to
I
anything,
wanna
so
think
it's,
through.
Oh, it's
Oh,
only
I don't know if I
now.
can copy
How we
that.
address those concerns in the permit itself. I know planning board will flush out all the details of
Yeah.
the design and all of that, but, the broad conditions that we as a board may feel need to be met in order to make sure this is not detrimental to the neighborhood. Those are the things that I need to wrap my head
That's
around
right.
before I'm comfortable really, moving on this.
Applying
And
condition.
If we force
oh,
a
sorry.
vote, I don't wanna, that's all right, I don't wanna prematurely, say yes
So
or no.
if you give us a list, we can
So-
kind of work on it for the next meeting.
Yeah, and
That'd be
call,
great.
and call me. Or call,
In the meantime, you guys are more than welcome to come down.
Yeah.
Stephen or I can give you kind of a tour,
Yeah.
kind of show you what we're thinking.
Had ice cream down there the other day. With the kids.
Yeah, Jeff's right.
Opening day,
It's,
actually.
it's all about the conditions that we might attach to it that will be reasonable and that be things that you probably will do anyways. And the only reason we do that now is we've had situations where we've granted permits and even with conditions, we still end up with something that is not at all what we thought it would be. So we just have to,
We can only tell you that we've been in the town for quite a while, almost 30 years, and we take pride in this community. We do a lot to.
Absolutely.
Just with hanging baskets downtown and
Yep.
trying to just make it look good, so we don't want erupting volcanoes or, stuff like that. We want to make it nice. It's more of a landscaping mini golf course
Well, that's-
rather than.
Oh, it's a cool
rather than-
concept, actually.
that's
I-
something we can talk about more. We'll come by and we'll talk about. I love that. That's a great idea. I'll give you the list after the meeting.
Okay.
Would someone
Can we,
like to?
can we just,
Wanna-
I'd like to hear more about what's on that list. Can you tell me again? The
Yeah,
lighting,
and
the
add anything-
height of the lighting? The height
Well,
of-
lighting in general.
What's
Well,
the,
you
what's
said you
the,
had a plan.
what's the plan for lighting?
Yeah.
Maybe
Okay.
give that to Patty so she can just email it to all of us. That
Okay.
might help you.
Okay.
Yeah, I can make
Um,
some copies. Yeah.
But that's
Vehicular
also something
access,
that's
in
gotta
other
be
words,
approved by
Yeah.
The
the planning
parking,
board.
Yep,
what are
So,
the aesthetics of the
you
parking.
still don't
Yeah.
know
I
yet.
have,
you
do you
know,
want me to read
entries,
what I have?
exits.
right, okay,
That's a difficult. I mean, it's a difficult place to get out of as it is.
agreed.
So it might be an opportunity to be a little more creative to figure out how to make it work a little bit
Okay.
better.
Do you want me to just read what I
lighting.
have? Yep.
All
Signage.
facets of lighting, signage. They're going to need to advertise this. Where's it going? How's it going?
Okay,
Lighting.
I'm not.
Well, I'm assuming he's gonna give it to us.
Yeah, we'll give you.
Yeah.
And it may
I will.
expand. I may have questions or something, and I'll email Patty and
Yep.
we'll make sure to get,
Yeah.
whatever.
I
It's
got
just
lighting,
things come up and you say,
signage,
you know what, oh,
I can only tell you, the in and out, we have it divided now
Yep.
with an island. To make another, if you saw how steep that is,
I
we
know.
can show you when you walk.
I know.
So if you go the other direction to where the mulch is, that just eliminates that whole section.
I know.
One of the things that I know can be done is it's a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit there. I mean, that, when you get down towards here, it's like 25. I don't know why we couldn't just get down to 25 and address maybe the sidewalks somehow, that maybe.
well, there's a state
Something-
road, so there's all kinds of issues.
Yeah, I know, maybe
I
you
tried to do the
can't,
same
maybe
thing
you
by my
can't
house,
do
but it's
that. but,
45.
I
and
mean, I know when I try to
New
get out of
Jersey
there,
said, good luck with that.
you know,
Challenge.
they're doing 50 around that corner.
you know who the best person to ask about that is? Kevin DeFeo. He's on the police department.
DeFeo.
DeFeo.
DeFeo, yeah.
He seems to know a lot about what you're allowed to do in terms of miles per hour in what sections of town. I would highly recommend that you talk to him about that. I just feel personally, I'm all in favor for the sidewalks, and I just don't feel like it's fair for the town to relinquish its responsibility for doing that and having a business who's trying to do something positive to take ownership of that. I mean, we as a town have to make that a priority, and it's not for the businesses to fix.
Yeah.
And until the town will step up to the plate.
The road agent may. I don't know. Do we have a road? What is it? A road agent? I forget.
Highway. Sorry.
Highway.
All right. Yeah, I guess from New Hampshire.
Yeah.
The highway department. He's awesome over there, and he there may be irons in the fire.
I
to-
feel like it's separate. It needs to be a separate issue from this proposal. I just don't feel like that's right.
Oh, no, I'm not. Yeah, as far as sidewalks and stuff.
Yeah, so if that's on the list, that's
No, I'm
That's-
talking
that's-
about
that's
just
gonna be a site plan
entry and
review issue
exit
as well.
type stuff,
okay.
not sidewalks or anything like that.
Okay.
A new
And I
cut.
and I honestly, I mean, your island is good, but if it were longer and turned in one way, or I don't know. I don't want to.
Do we don't deal with entry and exit though? Isn't that something that we always say is not in our purview because we're not safety experts and we leave that on to somebody else?
I think that was I think that was on Patty's list, wasn't it?
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah,
I don't
safety-
think we.
Well, there's a lot of things that we're addressing here that aren't really. Again,
Fire truck
it's
has to be able to go around.
as far
That's
as
in there.
That's sidewalks planning.
we can only go so far to ensure that this is a project that we think is good for the town, and I feel it's our responsibility to address the things that we think are important to be addressed. The planning board may not catch these things, or I don't know, but that's what we've always done. Is
Well,
like
they're
every
throwing
Five
stuff
more,
at the
which is
TV
probably
right now.
even more likely.
I just
but-
feel like we had this discussion on in another topic that none of us wanted to take ownership of. Actually, you know what it was? It was the hazardous waste stuff. We had the fire department come in because none of us wanted to say what was right for the hazardous waste. I sort of feel like this is the same thing, where this is a safety issue, and I'm not going to tell them how to bring traffic in because if there was an accident, then it's on us.
no, I'm not.
We could bring experts in here to opine on all this stuff if we wanted to.
I-
we
But
could have
planning's
them
gonna
pay
do
for it
that,
if we
so-
really wanted to as well, but if you're
But
not.
planning's going to do that, so I don't feel like
I don't
it's-
think they'll do it aesthetically.
aesthetics. Yeah, I
So
agree.
I, when it comes to vehicular access or how the flow works in around there, to me, that's an entry. That's the entry into a big complex.
Did
So
the
besides, I'm the
Crosby
chairman, so you have to
whole-
let me do this. They don't have
whole
to.
Crosby's.
They don't have.
I don't have to agree with you,
No,
Mr.
you
Chairman.
don't. No, you don't. Exactly. I just think it would be interesting to look at. Coming from my
No, it's your gig. I get it.
no.
You're
So
like the
we don't have
architect.
to
I'm the
address
engineer.
hours of activity because we know that already. As long as you promise you close at 9.
Well,
Yes, come on up.
As you suggested, they
Here we
should
go. Now I'm really gonna
reconsider
get
that on the weekends in prime time.
We have
Ruth
neighbors,
Morley,
though, that's the
274
thing.
Central
Yeah.
Street.
High Route.
Yes,
I
hi.
live directly across the street from the driveway.
Yeah, good.
I don't have any problem with it. Steve's been way too good to me. I've been there way before Steve was there, though. I lived there since 1966, so I was there prior to Noonan's massive expansion, obviously. It was just a little greenhouse up at the top, a house which none of you people ever saw because you're all too young to ever seen it, it's been long gone. But the traffic is an issue, I think, and a concern. But as far as the mini golf course, now what's to say that they say, okay, yeah, 9 o'clock, that's good. But what if they say 2 years down the road, if we were open till 10, we could probably bring more traffic in here. Who addresses that?
If we
That
can
would be
do
addressed,
that.
that would be addressed in the
Yeah.
special permit.
And that's
That's
why-
some of the things that I would like to think about as far as, that would be a condition of the special permit. They are not allowed to operate, for example, after 9
Beyond
PM.
certain hours.
And that's why I asked him if he was gonna make it later, now would be the time to do it.
Right.
So if he says
Right.
9, he's gonna come back and
Have to
ask for
address
a
it
later
later.
one.
Okay.
I have to refile.
Okay. And another thing, Steve, actually, I haven't asked you, who's going to be running the ice cream stand? Is it the existing people that are there
No,
now?
it'll,
No.
it'll
Are they
be,
gone?
you know, it's kind of political right now, but we're absolutely planning on running the mini golf and the cafe ice cream with my son and family, so,
And extended family?
an extended family.
Okay. The traffic thing is the big bugaboo that I have, and, you know, Matt had mentioned about the definitely is you people don't see it because you don't live there. But there are kids riding bicycles up there who live on Elm Street, Nelson Street, that wanna come get an ice cream cone.
Yep.
And, you know, Ashley, Matt's wife, actually said she saw some kids on their skateboards, you know, riding up there. And that road is, you know, with mine just crossing the street from them over to my driveway, I'm coming from the center of town, you know, sometimes I can barely get to the middle, and I'm pretty limber, to the middle of the road before, because they do come around that corner.
That corner is
50
tough.
miles an
It's-
hour.
Coming
Yeah,
into
that's how I
town,
drive.
coming into town around the
No,
corner,
not
or the
into
other way.
Right, but
Out of
Out
town.
of town.
Oh, out
yeah.
of town?
I don't wanna go there.
And I totally agree. It's a townwide issue, and it's not. I want to do something about this, but it goes well beyond this
Right,
area
the
and
police
this
department
project.
could address it pretty simply. You know, I could stand out there in their driveway with a radar gun and pick off every single car that comes around that corner.
I feel
And
like
increase your coffers.
I feel like there has to be a groundswell from the town that this is an issue that goes beyond Noonan's. It goes beyond downtown
It's
area.
everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Mhm.
It's a major problem, and I can't figure out how to get anyone to care about it. But I don't also think that this can fix it, because it's much bigger than that, and we're not committed to it as a town.
This is Sharon's pet project.
Paul? Paul? One of the things you had mentioned is whether or not they could redesign the entryway and the exit and the egress, right? Now, is that within our realm as non-safety specialists, you know, by saying, okay, you know, give me more of a curve, okay, to try and increase some visibility? I'm not sure, I'm asking you.
That's what Larry Graham was doing.
Dave
That
and
you
I
would-
are
That's one of the
builders.
things you mentioned. It doesn't seem feasible that they can get another cut through there.
No,
And if we're gonna ask them to modify,
they may not even
What
be,
they currently
this is
have.
just a, listen, this is,
I-
these are just my personal thoughts, and some things they can say, no, we can't really address that, there's nothing we can do. What can I say? And then all the board members will say, yes, it's a go, and that's it. So I unfortunately, from my background as a landscape architect, retired landscape architect, I know you can do something a little more interesting with your parking to make it more, a little easier to use, because it's gonna get even more complicated, because you don't have the greenhouse there, so you don't have that throat anymore that you have right now, because the greenhouses create your entry is a little bit longer. Now, when you have cars right up close to the road, it's gonna get even more complicated. So your island might have to just extend further into the parking lot, or something like that.
Right.
You know, you just, and honestly, you're right, we're not responsible for that entirely, but we're just responsible for making it nice. Or helping you to make it nice.
Right.
And the only other issue I had was, some sort of, a buffer, cause you guys are gonna rip everything down, which is fine, and then you'll be able to, you know, in a condition will be to plant a few nice trees or whatever along the side and some understory, and that's easy.
Is that what you're showing on that plan?
Yeah, well, it looks like it. I love the topography there. That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You're
no,
planning on doing.
that's actually pretty much there already,
Yeah.
behind those greenhouses.
Yeah. Yep.
So what's there? I'm sorry. I drive by it. Almost
That-
every day.
This is just a slope that goes down into,
Okay, so it's
the
just-
greenhouses
Is
that are there.
it just grass?
Yeah, it's
Crushed
crushed rock that's there right now.
Oh.
There's a guardrail that's just wire and rotted cement posts there. I mean, that needs to be addressed. I was hoping to talk to Peter Durkee about that. I mean, to see if we can do something with,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, that's
something that's a little more modern looking, because it really is an eyesore, and I
Yeah.
think it just needs to get cleaned up along with that whole edge.
Be nice to put
that's
a
all
wood
part
one
of
there.
it. Absolutely. That's
Right.
so. I'm not by any means asking for final plans or anything. Just sort of putting those out there as thoughts that, you know, to really make this all pull together. These are the things you'd like to consider.
Well, I think if we have a continuance, if you guys can get together and come up with a list that we can see if we can address some more
that'd be
questions.
fine.
And if anybody gets a chance to come down and visit, in the meantime, we can
Yep.
talk to them and.
Yep.
And
That's fair enough.
That's what we'll do. We'll have
Please
Patty
settle it.
email you a list. We'll let the next couple days, any member of the board has any things that they'd like you to come back with a little more information, that would be the best thing to do.
Okay.
Patty, will it be continued until next month?
It'll be the second hearing. We have 36 Prospect Street first, which will be a,
Yep, okay.
Okay.
Someone like to
so
make a
it'll
motion to
be
continue?
following the first scheduled hearing at 7:30.
What's the date?
May 7th.
May 7th?
Oh, you're gonna make a motion there?
Yeah, I'd move that we continue this hearing to May 7th, immediately following the hearing that's already scheduled at 7:30.
First scheduled hearing at 7:30.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? No one? That's it. Thank you very much,
Thank
you
you very
guys.
much.
All right.
Good job, guys.